in the Discord to see who wants to, if not comment, maybe hop on if they want to. We'll see. But yeah, so as far as, we were to introduce the show and kind of what we're talking about, this is the 100th episode of the Four Corners podcast. I'm your host, Ray. You can find me online at Ray1Hackshaw. Joined this week by number one, Dow. You can find him on Twitter at Nilotic Valor. Dow, what's going on?
I'm excited. Uh, I can't wait. I think this is their best. It's gonna be their best regular season ever. I think Nuggets. I think the Nuggets gonna win over 60 games. That's my prediction. Yeah, and so I'm excited. I already see the disrespect that Jokic is getting, not being included. So he's just gonna quietly just walk into an MVP. And this time, all those people who didn't vote for him last year are going to feel so bad that they have no choice but to vote for him. I actually agree with, I think Harrison Wentz. He said that Jokic might win the MVP unanimously if he puts up the numbers he put up last year, or even better, because people are just going to feel so bad because what he did in the playoffs, that they're going to have no choice but to vote for him. So it's just like a guilt trip. So it might happen. I'm not ruling that out. I think Yoke might just be it looks so easy to him. I've been seeing him play in the preseason. It looks so easy. So I think the Nuggets going to win 60 plus games. That's my prediction. Number one in the West. So I'm excited because I'm tired of watching the Broncos take my food and kill my mood.
I feel that. Also joined by Peter, Bucket since '88. How's New Orleans treating you?
Doing good. Grass finally stopped growing, so I can just watch football all weekend now. And I got a secret document for you guys. You ready?
Yeah.
A secret document.
You alluded to it already? There. Let me put that up. I'm like Wilt Chamberlain. No, I'm feeling good, man. We made it 100. The Nuggets. Nuggets fans have never felt had more swag. I got the watch on. I'm feeling like Shador. So, feeling good. And we're ready to defend the title. Before we go any further, Ray, I've got some stats about Four Corners I'd like to share with you if you like.
Okay. I'm open to this. What's up?
So we've had, do you have a guess for who is all-time leader in show appearances?
Oh, I'm going to go with Dole.
That is correct. The man up
Logan.
north
in
the most exciting state in our nation, North Dakota. Dole is leading with 7 appearances, followed right on his heels by C.T. Fazio. He's been on the show 6 times. Zach and Miroslav have each been on 4 times. Voya, Darwin, and Damon have been on 3 times. And then we got a bunch of people with 2, including Dow. This is Dow's 3rd episode, so you're moving up the ranks, Dow.
Yeah.
So thank you to all our guests, and thank you to everybody who listens, makes the show possible. I mean, even if we had 0 viewers, this show would still be possible because we don't really have any income, but we do it for fun.
Well, not through this. We have income, just we have jobs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely honored to the fact. I mean, honestly, I'm impressed. Not every podcast makes it 100 episodes, so I definitely appreciate all of the good feedback and support we've got from everyone in the community, but even just like random strangers that I meet, and they're like, "Oh, you do this thing? That's cool." Yeah. Do you have any interesting podcast stats before I jump into what I was going to talk about?
Sure. I mean, we've had the main people on the show, like you, me, and Jared, the hosts. We've recorded the pod from 1, 2, 3. I count 5 different states. Okay, so Colorado. Okay, you've done a show from back home in Maryland. Obviously,
also DC.
I'm in Louisiana, so that's 3.
Which is not a state.
Oh, DC. Oh, 6. Well, 6 locations then.
DC.
I did that one show from the parking lot in Key West. That's 5. And
That's
then
true.
don't forget, you did that one show from Kansas City
Kansas City, Missouri. Yes. Shout out
in
to
a
Matt
library.
Moore.
That's dedication right there. Ray stopped in the middle of his road trip to record Four Corners.
It was a good stop. The people of Missouri, very nice. The state of Missouri, very hot. I don't know if I could do it, but yeah, I had a good time there.
Good
I guess.
I mean, we're global. I mean, we've had people join this show from North Dakota, obviously, as we mentioned, Washington State. Jake and Darwin. Dow, you're in DC, right?
Yeah, I was in Colorado last time we. No. The first episode I was in Colorado when we recorded. This was back in February. Remember when they were going through when they were just cruising, and everybody was worried that the Nuggets were just not going to be. They're just going to be do their own thing, where they just don't show up. That was the first episode I was on. The last one was when we won the whole thing, and I was in DC.
Right.
Back at the DNVR. You guys flew in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we also can't forget our Serbian listeners and followers, and Miroslav. Shout out to that man. He's one of the realest
He's the realest.
Not yet been able to meet, but maybe, knock on wood, we'll one or more of us can make the trip. That would be nice. Voya holding it down in Nebraska, I believe.
Yeah, we've got the Midwest is well represented. We got Nebraska, Deuce, down from Austin, Texas, been on the show. Lando up in Chicago. We're all over the map.
Yeah, I haven't been to the bar yet, so I plan to go to the bar. Even when I was home last, I couldn't go to the bar because I was looking after my younger siblings, so I wasn't going to go to the bar and get wasted and
be irresponsible. I understand. So it's easy to have a lot of fun at the bar as well.
And completely see, when I don't have any responsibility, when I go back, I don't have any responsibility, so I'm just gonna go to the bar when the Nuggets are on, and then just meet the guys. I haven't met the guys yet, which is it's weird, but it feels like I know them personally.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Ray's been there so much, he probably has more insight than me, but I highly recommend going on like a low-key night. Like go on like a Tuesday against the Pistons, because it won't be as busy and you'll have like way more time to chop it up with the guys and just like talk about everything.
Yeah.
Because they're always there.
No, they're always there, exactly. Because all post games are always there. So no, I definitely want to go. I'm excited. I already look at tickets for the game, so I want to go Christmas game. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to go
against the Dubs.
Yep. I definitely want, because a lot of Warriors fan. I love the Warriors. I love Warriors fan. They're so funny. They said that they would have beat them in the Western Conference had they made it. And I was like, one point you made, one of my good friends, you didn't make it though. So
this is very much like the like if I was your man type energy.
Yeah.
But
So a lot of my friends who are out here from California, so they're Warriors fan. I don't know if they're true Warriors fan, but they're Warriors fan. Hey, they said that they even to now they still think that they can beat the Nuggets. I'm like, with Chris Paul on the court, do you know how small you guys are going to be standing next to the Nuggets? Like, where's the rebounding going to come from?
It is interesting, like what their conceptualization of basketball is moving towards. They're just getting smaller and smaller, but at the same time, they've had the best offenses of all time. So it's I don't want to write them off.
I'm not writing them off. I just think that they're moving the opposite of where everybody is going now. Everyone's going big because of the Nuggets now. In terms of like the big, so the Nuggets are kind of bringing back like to traditional power forward center with Aaron Gordon, how big he is. Aaron Gordon is incredibly big. Michael Porter is just like, nobody has Michael Porter, a 6'10" shooter, sniper. Yeah, nobody has that. And so that just creates such an advantage for the Nuggets. And he's such a great rebounder too. That's what people forget about Michael Porter. He's a great rebounder that it makes up for his defensive deficiency. Rebounding is defense. That's what people forget sometimes. When you're a great rebounder, it gives your team the offense, the offensive ball. And so Jokic is a great rebounder. He can rebound with his eyes closed. This man can. I didn't believe that he can just rebound with one hand a whole game without even.
Absolutely. Rebounding is the only way to get the ball back after a defensive possession. This is actually an interesting segue. So I don't know if you guys know this. So I go to CU Denver at the Rary campus, and I would just be at the gym regularly, and I ended up I play with their like club basketball team, and we've had some tournaments. We had a tournament yesterday and the day before. We played the School of Mines, and actually the Air Force Academy was supposed to come, but they didn't show up. But that's okay. I might be at the bar Tuesday because practice is canceled. Because as it turns out, we're right next to Ball Arena, and it's going to be crazy over there. So I am both really excited and also my body hurts
you guys are right across the street.
because it's that thing. We all need to rebound, and I think it's helpful to have everybody contributing. So it'll be interesting to see, in a different context, like how the Warriors really follow through with all of their plans as far as how do you close out possessions? How do you create opportunities is Draymond just that dominant? Can he be that dominant by himself, more or less, without a whole lot of help? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Looney's a great rebounder. Looney is a great rebounder, but it's just like you saw against the Lakers, even with AD and LeBron, and then though how big they were compared to the Warriors, because it's just like they just couldn't match. You can't match that height, and so they lost their rebounding. Literally, almost every game of that series, they lost their rebounding battle, and so it just like now put that up against the Nuggets. They will lose that rebounding battle like twice as much, if not more. The Lakers lost pretty much the rebounding battle against the Nuggets every game of the series, and they're big. They're just as big as the Nuggets, but it's just Jokic is just the outlier. It's just like nobody can match his rebounding skills. Besides, I'd say the only man that was so strong enough that I saw like out rebound Jokic for positioning was Steve Adams, because that dude is just. Even that Jokic was giving it. This was like when Jokic was still young, but now I don't think nobody can beat Jokic on the block. He's too strong. He's too big. You can't do nothing. You can't even move him out of his position. So I want the Warriors in the playoffs just to see that matchup, because I still want revenge for 2013.
Me too. I'm not gonna lie. I know Iggy just retired. I respect his career. He had a great career.
Or a tweet.
Shout out. I hate him in a basketball context. Like, you left my team to go have lots of success somewhere else, and I can't abide by that. And I will boo you if you come to Ball Arena. But that he had a good, very excellent, honestly, 19-year career.
Yeah.
And I hope when the Warriors show up in Denver, they get mollywopped.
Oh no, Iggy is my favorite players on that team 2013 was Gallo and Iggy. And when he left, I was heartbroken, man. I thought Iggy was going to be with Denver for a decade, man. Because I was like, this is your team. Where are you going? Literally,
he's like the perfect piece and everything that kind of makes everything.
Team, because we didn't have nobody. For us, it was like Gallo injury changed everything, man. The thing is, if Gallo never got hurt and Iggy never left, we would have never got. I don't know if we would have ever got Jokic.
Right. We
would have never got Jokic. So it's just everything happened in that weird. It's just how the universe is. So it's Iggy leaving actually helped contribute to us getting Jokic down the line. It worked out better for us, because if he would have stayed, Iggy would have never brought us a championship. He was a good player, but we weren't winning nothing. We would have made the playoffs over and over again, but still losing the first round. So
being honest,
it's just the truth.
Yeah, I would say the best player on that team wasn't better than the fourth best player on this team.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess, Peter, I'll throw this to you. How Dow mentioned 60 wins. after watching the preseason, which just wrapped up a couple days ago, I don't know if you've changed on this at all, but what do you think about a win total for this year? You know, especially in the context of comparing this team to that team and that team being 57 wins and this and that third. How do you feel about what the Nuggets can achieve this year in the regular season?
Wow, it all really depends on how many games they want to win, right? Like I think they have the talent to win 60 games. Are they going to need to win 60 games? If you look at Jamal Murray has looked great in preseason. So the fact that he's coming in healthy and in shape, theoretically, they get off to a better start than they did last year. So that's one positive. Obviously you're missing Bruce Brown, and as stacked as the rest of the West is, I still really feel like there's only a couple of teams that can be like legitimate challengers to the Nuggets when it comes to the 1 seed. And those are the Suns and the Lakers, because, to tie this all back into, Dow, you were talking about Steven Adams earlier. I don't know if you guys heard, he's having season ending surgery. He's out for the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's really a bummer for the Grizzlies. They've already missing Ja for 25 games. And, I did a little bit of prep work for the show for once, and I got some really interesting stats for you guys. So the Grizzlies finished second in the West last year behind the Nuggets. They were 51 and 31, good record, nothing to sneeze at. But Adams played 42 games. So he played about half the first half of the season. The Grizzlies started 31 and 13. So they only finished the season 20 and 18. They were playing 500 ball. So you take Steven Adams out for the whole year. That's more stress on Jaren Jackson. Ja's not there. And everybody's like, oh, well, they still play good without Ja. It's like, yeah, but they had Tyus Jones. They traded him for Marcus Smart. So I kind of feel like the Grizzlies are, I'm not going to say they're an afterthought. Like they've got a lot of depth. They're still going to make the playoffs. But I think they're more like a 45, 47 win team this year.
Yeah, and Clark is out too with the Achilles.
Which right, Clark's out.
Yeah.
So yeah, bad start for the Grizzlies. The Pelicans already have some key injuries, and then the Suns and the Lakers are kind of the ones that are starting with a full deck, but we just don't know how hard they're going to push. I feel like the Suns have a lot to prove. I think the Lakers, as happens every year, have kind of been a little bit overrated. Like they ended the year really well, but they still got D'Angelo Russell heavily involved, and they're bringing in a lot of new pieces, and I just feel like LeBron's going to coast like he always does because he knows he's got to save it for March. So, if the Nuggets stay healthy, I don't see why this team can't win 60 games, but they might not need to. This might be a year where they just win like 54 or 57 games, and that's probably still the 1 seed, I feel like.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think the reason they're going to have a great start, I think Jamal Murray has a lot to prove. Not to us, but quote unquote, to the feather fans out there that say Jamal can't do it in the regular season.
Yeah, isn't that the craziest take ever?
It is. It's so funny to me because it's like, did you just watch what he just did? But for me, I think Jamal is going to have a great start to the season. I think this is going to be Jamal's number. I think Jamal's going to be 23 and 7, 23 and 8 in terms of the assists, because his playmaking. This is the best playmaking I have ever seen of Jamal Murray, going back to last year postseason. I think he's going to average like seven assists per game, if not 8. But it might be 7 just because York is probably going to average freaking them 9 or 10 assists. So, but Jamal playmaking, I think Jamal is just going to be above 20 points a game. He's going to be 22, either 22, 23 with 7 assists or 7 assists per game, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds. He's a great rebounding too, a rebounder for a guard. That's what people forget about Jamal. He's a great rebounder for a guard. So if Jamal is putting up those numbers, and Michael Porter is going to average. Michael Porter should average literally 18, 20 in his sleep if he's shooting the piss out of the ball. I'm not worried about that. I think Jamal has a lot to. He has a lot to prove to himself, and I think that's why we can have 60 wins. Because, like you said, if we just have a great start, remember how we started the year last year? We were 12 and 11, before we went on that insane run. Imagine if we start the season, let's say instead of 12-11, it's 20-6. That's literally 9-10 wins right there. You just add on, and so just those little wins. Look at those close games we lost that we shouldn't have lost last year. Remember that game we lost to the Kings?
Speaking of,
in overtime, the one where Yoke went off and we lost that game that Michael Porter didn't play because he had COVID. Just those games like that. I'm like, there's no way we lose those games this season. Like, no way.
I want to introduce a not dissenting in the way that you might think. I think they aim for. I'm a little more. I think they shoot for 70 wins.
Wait, what?
I think they shoot for 70 wins.
No, that's insane, man. Damn.
And here's a big reason. I have a reason why. I think this year, more than like the last 4 or 5 years, not only because we can talk a lot about, because I think a lot of the reasons that you lay out for the Nuggets being one of the best teams in the Western Conference are true. I also think, I look over the Eastern Conference. There aren't that many good teams in the Eastern Conference, and to the extent that they balanced out, I think recently, I think they've unbalanced out even more recently. I see the Celtics, I see the Bucks. Outside of those two teams, I don't really see a team that's going to be in that 50 win range, in my opinion. Even the Heat, I think they are a great team, and they're a team that can make the playoffs and do a lot of things. I don't think they're a team that's going to be pushing for tons and tons of wins in the regular season. And I think that the Nuggets, with that championship momentum, getting that hot start that we kind of expect them to have, especially when you talk about like the home field advantage, not home field, but home court advantage, that I think in recent years it's still been an advantage, but I don't think been as much of an advantage as it could be. I think this year, now that you have every game is going to be sold out, every big time team is going to be on national television, there's going to be a level of attention and pressure and emphasis that I think is on the Nuggets, that I think helps them, on top of the fact that they're just better than maybe I'm crazy, but I think they're better than pretty much any team that they're going to come across, that they won't have those ugly losses against teams that maybe they are solid but shouldn't beat them on a regular basis, because Jamal is healthy and Mike is healthy, and you have your core guys intact, and you've got the fresh legs to back them up. Hopefully, we'll see about that. That's maybe the only question that I have. So I guess, Peter, I'll throw it to you. Am I crazy?
No, if that's the case, then the starters, all of them are all NBA by the end of the season. They're all NBA players, all of them, because there's no way they could. If that's the case, because remember when the Warriors won 70, everybody was an all-star on that team, including Iggy, when they won 70 plus games. The only person that didn't get all-star vote was what you call it, the Australian guy, their center. What's his name? Bogut. Bogut.
Yeah, Andrew Bogut.
Yeah, he's the only one that didn't make the All-Star that year. But everybody else made the All-Star, All-NBA that year for them when they won 70 games. So I'm like, if that's the case, everybody on the Nuggets is making All-NBA, All-Stars, because that means by the time it's All-Star voting or All-Star when it comes out, the Nuggets would already have what, like 40 plus wins by that point.
I don't think so. I mean, I will admit, this is a confident hot take, but I genuinely think that's something that they're looking at. I think they see the disrespect, that of people other teams have. I think they see the comparisons to a team that, 57 wins. I mean, how much better is this team than the 57 win team? I think they see that comparison as well. I think they see the comparisons to the 72 win Warriors, I should say. And I don't know. I can't imagine
stuff, because if they end up proving your
them
point,
not having that potential at
yeah,
the very least.
they do.
And while Jokic isn't the most, how would I say this? I don't think he cares that much about the record. I don't think he cares that much about records, period. I think Jamal is more of the mind than he would. And I think Jokic, even if he doesn't care, he's always going to play well. He could not care and put up 20, 20, and 20. Like, I think that's less of a concern for me that Jokic is just going to not shoot one day or something like that.
Can I tell you why they won't?
Okay.
I think if you think back to that Warriors team that won 73 games, the thing that always seems to get forgotten about that era of Warriors basketball is like they were also the best defensive team in the NBA, which is crazy because they had Durant and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But now there's just so much variance in the random NBA game. Like you're just gonna play one out of every 6 games where the other team's just on fire and everybody shoots so many threes that like I honestly don't think this is a hot take. I don't think we're ever gonna see a team win 70 games again. And it's because of the style, and 2 because of just the talent is like better everywhere, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that when the Bulls won 70 games, it was like the first year of the NBA having expansion teams first time for a while. So they had like a watered down league they were playing against. So what the Warriors did, even though I'm like a diehard Michael Jordan fan, what the Warriors did was actually more impressive. From a regular season standpoint. But you already alluded to it. Jokic just isn't wired that way. Like he loves playoff basketball. And if Jokic was wired more like Michael Jordan, like I want to kill you every night, then maybe they could do it. So I don't know. I still think they proved how good they were in the playoffs with the dominant run going 16-4. I know that not everybody is sold, but they've got the chance to back it up again this year. I'd rather have them win 53 games again and win the title than win 65 games and fall short. So I think every Nuggets fan would agree with me on that. But
Yep.
I do think they still have a chance to set the record for wins.
Yeah, I just
for
want
franchise.
I just want them to set the records for wins for the franchise because they are the greatest team in franchise history. Like this iteration.
Oh, for sure.
So I just think for them to go back to back and win 60 plus games, they're mentioned in those great teams, like the the 72 Bulls, the 87 Celtics, and the 2000 Lakers. It's just like the '08 Celtics again. Like those are great teams, and if you win 60 plus games, you put nobody can take you out of that conversation. You belong in that conversation. And let's say they go on that dominant run again in the postseason and lose 2 games again on that route, like 3 games that they lost. Let's say this time they lose 2 or 1 game on a route to a title. That would be insane because you have no choice but to give them their respect. I'm like, damn, they won back to back and they did it even better than last year. That
Right.
But like
I think everyone would prefer a title if you had to pick.
Easy.
Right.
They might not have to pick.
Easily. I would pick a title any day of the week, but on doing it on a dominant fashion from start to finish, nobody has any choice but to recognize that Joker is the player of this era going forward. It's over. That nothing you can say about it anymore. This is his league now. Because LeBron, Steph, KD, they're on their way out. This is not their league anymore. So the torch has been passed, and it was passed last year in the Western Conference. So a lot of people just have a hard time believing that because it's just like, damn, Foreigner has the torch of the league. That's in the mind of a lot of people. They can't believe it that a Foreigner is the best player in this league.
That's true as well. I mean, we're firmly into the 2020s at this point, and that this will be the last few years of a lot of the guys we've known for a long time growing up in the league, and we'll look back on this from a historical context as like who was the best team? You know, we talk about the '90s, of the 2000s, of the teens, with that Warriors team. Who was the best team of the 2020s? And I think that at the end of the day, we're going to look back on it and say, like, it was the Denver Nuggets who were the team of the decade, or had some of the teams of the decade, whichever one ends up being the better of those.
Hope
Yeah.
so.
So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. I
But-
guess.
But like Peter said,
I think this is going to be fun.
I'd rather have a ring and 53 win any day of the week.
Yeah,
Period.
but you know, I think you can do both. They could get like 65 in a ring.
No, for sure.
So Ray, I have to ask, like, has the vibe changed at all since the title in the city? Like, have you? I know I've asked you this before, but have you started to see even
vibe check?
more Nuggets gear, or is it like about the same? Like, are the Nuggets, like, obviously they're not passing the Broncos, but do you feel like are you having more Nugget conversations with random people than before?
I can definitely, like, I see more jerseys. I just see more Nuggets memorabilia in general. And when I talk about the Nuggets with people, I just feel a lot more enthusiasm, I would say. I mean, some of it is, it's also relative. Like, we're talking about comparing them to the Broncos. The Broncos still have like a big old sign in front of that whole area along Highway 6, I think. That is like, this is Broncos country or whatever, sure. But when I talk to people about the Broncos, it's not positive. Like, I don't, I'm not trying to go in or roast them or anything like that. I wish them the best. But I think where the energy is and the positivity is and the excitement is first and foremost at the highest level among the Nuggets camp in Denver, and if not, honestly, I would say among Avs fans, even with the start that they've had. But whereas it takes time to sink in, being down bad takes time to sink in, but I think a lot of Broncos fans are down bad. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not labeling it a Nuggets town yet, but I am firm in the, we'll see what happens category. While we're thinking of just like projective takes right now, so Damon says, so you're saying we get it done next year. I would assume we're all, if we had to pick a guess, our title choice for this year, we're all taking the Nuggets.
Oh yeah. For me, it's you're the best until someone takes it away from you. No, nobody. I don't think there is no answer for Jokic. Until you have an answer for Jokic, you cannot beat the Nuggets at full strength. You just can't. The only way you can beat the Nuggets is if you take away Jamal Murray, like we saw for the last 2 years, and Michael Porter, when he has no hope. Jokic,
Peter, I guess.
Yeah, that's
how do you feel?
The Nuggets.
And I'll ask you this, because I think this is more an interesting question. If you had to imagine a world where some team can beat the Nuggets, how could that happen? It could be real, it could be imaginary.
Yeah, I think the two biggest threats are the Lakers and the Suns. I mean, the Lakers, they're going to need better guard play. I mean, I don't expect that to come from D'Angelo Russell. I mean, I've already talked about how I think Gage Vincent is a better fit for them than Schroeder, even though Schroeder was good for them last year.
Peter,
I guess their big thing is they think Austin Reeves is going to take like a big step forward this year, and he was good in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You're right.
I just feel like he got cooked in the Olympics a lot, and they asked him about it. I was listening to a podcast, and he was like, "Well, if you look at the scheme, we were trying to defend one-on-one a lot," and I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't mean that you were still like doing a good job." So I'm not worried about Austin Reeves because Michael Porter just shot right over him every single time last year. So I kind of feel like that's like trouble for the Lakers. If their third best player is Austin Reeves, I'm not that worried because it still comes down to, is Anthony Davis going to like play close to Jokic? No, he got completely schooled by him. So I just think that even though the Lakers have a lot of size, they're kind of limited offensively. I'm more worried about the Suns. You know, the Suns, they added Bradley Beal and they still have Durant and Booker, and we can't guard Booker. Like we've proven that. I mean, he did kind of wear down in the later in that series, but I think adding Beal now, it's going to be interesting to see, like, that team's just got a lot of firepower, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see how seriously those teams take the regular season matchups, because they clearly didn't care about the preseason game. Not that they should, but like the Suns rested their guys in that one, and I'm just like, you know, if the Suns like thoroughly get dominated by the Nuggets in the regular season, they're probably going to look at their roster and be like, we got to make another move in season. You know, I don't know what would be available to them, but like, it's so hilarious to me that Suns fans are all like excited about Nurkic and that he's going to like somehow be good against Jokic. I mean, I could see the Suns winning that series, but it's not going to be because of Yusuf Nurkic. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be because of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. So, you know, it's a long season, but that team on paper to me has the talent to be a juggernaut. I think that the Warriors and the Timberwolves, you know, they have a puncher's chance, but I just kind of feel like the Warriors on their last legs, and the Timberwolves just aren't really ready yet.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm with you. I think even with the Lakers, their guard play, Jamal just cooks them every time. Like Jamal literally just walks into the paint whenever he wants. Step back. They can't do nothing to Jamal. For me, it's the Suns and the Timberwolves. The reason I say the Timberwolves, I think, it's just they got a great defense, man. And even though we beat them in 5, man, some of those games were tough. After game 1, some of those games were tough because
and it's that dude.
And it's that dude, man. He scares me, man. He's not afraid of anything. And so for me, and now they have it. I mean, the reason they didn't have a healthy team is because they're stupid in the head. Who the hell ball? Like McDaniel is one of the best defenders. He would have done a better job guarding Jamal Murray than Alexander Walker. Alexander Walker would still played amazing defense on Jamal, but he's smaller compared to McDaniel. McDaniel is a great defender. I don't know how he was not on first team all defense. He was robbed of that. So they have a great defense, and is that dude. They just need to figure out the cat. Just trade him. If you trade Cat away, it creates a better space, and it just shows to end. Hey, this is your team. Take over. This is your team. Instead of having to defer to Cat, because Cat is not that dude when it comes to the playoffs, man. He's just not. He puts up the numbers, but it's empty bullets. It doesn't penetrate. It doesn't do anything. There's no impact. And so
I think he also needs to play.
He needs to play, but when he does play, he doesn't give them what they need. They need. See, if I was a GM for the T-Wolves, they need someone like Paul George. Paul George on the Wolves with that defense, that shit would put fear in my head against the Nuggets, because they have the scoring now, they have the defense, and they have somebody to back end up in terms of just punch your chance when it comes to offense. That's what they're missing. They're missing that offensive piece, offensive firepower, but the defense they have.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, like, if the Timberwolves get off to a good start or not, and if they try to make it work all season. Because two teams I feel like would make sense as trade partners for them. One would be the Raptors. I don't know what Masai thinks about Towns, but Siakam's on the last year of his deal, or maybe they'd want Anunoby. Like, either guy would be useful for the Wolves coming back. The other team I really think about a lot is the Brooklyn Nets. This is a team that had a crazy year last year. They start with KD and Kyrie. They had a nice little stretch there, but then before the trade deadline, Kyrie still said he wanted out because he wasn't going to get paid. So they trade him. KD's like, all right, I don't want to stick around. They trade him. And all the stuff they got back was like kind of interesting, right? So they've got all these wings now. What if you did like Cat for Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson or something like that? Because that way the Nets have like more of a star player to build around. The Wolves get back some 3-and-D wings. And then you kind of have like Cat and Gobert on a bunch of length, that'd be kind of a scary team.
Yeah, because now you have the spacing and you have all the shooting, and the ultimate. And if he takes that step, man, the thing is he's not afraid of the lights. He's like Jamal Murray. When the lights turn on,
Yeah.
he just goes 0 dark 30 and he just goes off. So
Yeah,
they just
really wants it.
Yeah, they just need
sure.
around him. Just you have something. Just like the Nuggets made that choice with Jokic. Don't ruin what you have. Just build upon it. So for me, the Wolves put more fear in my heart than the Lakers. The reason is because I don't know if LeBron is not as the scorer he used to be anymore to put fear in my heart. It's not LeBron 3 years ago when they beat us in the bubble, the young Nuggets, right? We were young, we were inexperienced, and on top of that, we did a disservice to ourselves of coming back to back from 3-1. You know how much hard you play to come back from 1, let alone 2. If we had ended those 2 previous series,
what's crazy? Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, what I was going to say is what's crazy. Like, I know I might sound like a little bit of a Nuggets homer saying this, but I've watched LeBron James his whole career, and that's the first time since before he became an all-star, like MVP type player, like on the downslope, that I've ever seen him not be the best player in a series, like definitively not been the best player, right? Like, you can make an argument that Durant outplayed him in those finals with Golden State, but LeBron was like great in those series. LeBron was not bad in the Nuggets series, but he was not as good as Nikola Jokic. So I just think that LeBron, as amazing as he is, like obviously first ballot Hall of Fame and all that stuff, I don't see any scenario where he gets better, right? He's going to be 39 in December. So as good as he still was in the playoffs, that's kind of his new limit now. So he really, like, they're good enough to win, but they're going to need to get better. They need Anthony Davis to be on his A game. They need Austin Reeves to get better. And they probably got to make one more trade, because I just don't think the rest of their pieces are like good enough unless this Rui Hachimura jump is like for real. I know you've always been high on him, Ray, but I'm like, wait and see. It was like a nice pickup for the Lakers for a cheap price, but the Wizards traded him for a reason. I know you think like, oh, everything the Wizards do touches, like, turns to shit, but I don't know. Rui's a nice player, but I don't know if he's like the answer.
What's the difference?
I think for me, this might be my hot take. I think if Rui, for example, for me, I think if Rui is the Lakers' third best player next year, they have a puncher's chance, because the thing, I don't think Austin Reeves can be your third best player and you think you can win it. No, if Rui takes that jump, I would be more scared of the Lakers. Just the way he played in the postseason, I always been high on Rui, but I didn't see that. I would be lying if I said I did. No, I didn't see that coming.
I do think they could have a puncher chance, both because if you have LeBron, I'm not saying, I guess I question his endurance more than I question his peaks, right? I think he could still go for 40 or 50 in a game if he needed to. The question for them is, how often do they need him to put the team on his back? And so it is about, like, can Anthony Davis be that guy most of the time in the regular season? It goes a long way for him to do that. And similarly, like, for Rui Hachimura to be like a capable third option on a regular basis in the regular season, and hopefully in the playoffs, I think a little bit more than Austin Reeves, like, he can be the physical presence that Austin Reeves can't be. Not that Austin Reeves isn't physical at all. It's just he's a guard. He's a little bit smaller. He doesn't provide the same. When you're talking about playing the Nuggets, for example, you're talking about contending with Aaron Gordon and Jokic and Michael Porter. Like, you need that collective amount of, you need the physical tools to combat with that. I want to segue us into like a recent news thing, not breaking news, but recent news, relatively. Our favorite player, Zeke Naji.
Yeah.
A new contract.
Let's go. I think
4 years, $36 million, I believe.
Yep.
and it, sorry, 32.
Just 30,
I
I
should
think,
say.
or 32. Yeah, so
Or
8 million a year.
yeah, it looks like I'm on Spot Track right
It's
now.
basically
It's
a 3-year deal. Last year's a
seven and
player
a
option, I
half.
think.
Yeah,
Here's
3
my
plus 1.
if Zeke plays well this season, I think if the Nuggets are looking for, in some ways to improve, I think that's a trade piece that they might use. That's my hot take why they signed him on the contract, because you need to make contracts work. If they were to make a move, Zeke would be one of like the first pieces to be moved for them. But I don't think they're going to move him. I think
I
this,
don't either.
this make or break for Zeke, just because Vlatko's not there. Nobody's in front of you. I'm rooting for him, man. I just want him to have a great season and stay healthy. Just stay healthy. I hope his 3-ball comes back, because if it does, that bench would be just 10 times, a million times better.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think it would be huge for the Nuggets, both, well, in a flexible way. That if Zeke is good, then you have either a good player who kind of, something I've been thinking about for the long term for the Nuggets is who replaces Aaron Gordon at the end of his deal. You know, I look at, initially I was thinking about that looking at Peyton Watson, because his contract ends around when Aaron's would end, like when his extension would start would be when Aaron's would come off the books. Or I guess, thinking about what this news might suggest is that they see him as another option, as that long-term, flexible, physical guy who can occasionally hit threes, hopefully. Who can do a little bit of ball handling, who can do a little bit of passing, which seems to be what he's been working on. So I think that would be nice. But it also does make trades a lot easier for them, now that he would be making some decent amount of money. I think gives them some flexibility there as well. So I don't hate it. I think a lot of people were. Did you guys feel like
Right.
a lot of people were surprised
I was
when
surprised.
that happened?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I was like, wait, what?
I was
I
a little
like
bit
it.
too.
I mean, I thought it was aggressive, because I think there is some questions going forward in terms of like the long term shaping of the roster, and I think with the Vlatko injury, you're kind of up against it, and so when you're pretty much have a full roster and there's not a lot of ways to improve, you kind of have to stick with your guys, because I think it's a bet on like, look, Zeke's been in our program. He works hard. We like his attitude. He doesn't have to like learn new plays or anything. He just has to learn, maybe a little bit of chemistry with like Reggie Jackson and stuff like that. But for the most part, they like him enough that they want to keep him around. And, like Dow mentioned, they could trade him later if they need to. But I don't think that's the plan. I don't think they're like signed him to trade him. It's more like this gives them flexibility to go in either direction. But it is nice to have a backup center for a bargain price. I think that's a very reasonable contract, because yeah, we've talked about like, oh, there's this guy on option for the minimum. They're all really not that good options. And maybe Zeke's only a little bit better than those guys, but I still think he can help a lot, eat innings and win games in the regular season. And, you hope that he becomes good enough to be a playoff rotation guy. But even if he's not, we saw that Aaron Gordon is perfectly capable of taking over that job in the postseason.
So
Yeah, I think he has real upside, with his game. He's shown a lot of valuable things over the course of his career so far. And I don't think so. I'm to talk about like the numbers a little bit, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the biggest cap expert, but as far as I know, he to be extended, he would have to be extended at about a 16th of the cap, which is about what he's being paid. That's what the mid level is. So I don't think they could have had him for any cheaper than they are getting him. And just the fact that you get him for that many years, I think in an era where cap inflation is also going to be real, that by 2027, 2028, I mean, $8.5 million isn't going to look that large, honestly.
Right.
Especially when we're talking about other guys that we've signed for similar amounts, for slightly less amounts that haven't really been as productive more effective at. Well, I guess maybe we could transition into this a little bit.
The thing too, like
So far in the preseason, how do you guys now? I'll start with you. In the context of Zeke's new deal, how do you feel about him compared to how you feel about some of those guys that Denver has signed recently off of the open market, both this year and last year?
no, I've always been a big supporter of Zeke. He has talent there. He's a hard worker. I think the thing
Mm-hmm.
they're going for this season, going back to the draft, is that they just want to be good and be good for a really, really long time. You got a homegrown. You have to grown talent at home. You can't go acquiring it because it's too expensive now. Everybody's under contract. You can't sign. That's why we couldn't bring Bruce Brown back because we didn't have his bird. We didn't have his bird rights. If we did, Bruce Brown wouldn't have walked out. Bruce Brown would have been a Nugget because he needed to jump back into his contract for us to have his bird rights, but we didn't. So what we're what the Nuggets they're thinking is moving forward, they have to hit on the draft and develop these players. We drafted Zeke. Now we have to develop and see if we reap those benefits. So I think Zeke is a good player. It's just health that has gotten in his way the last 2 years. He can't stay healthy. And so if he's healthy, it's just we see even last year when he was playing really well, and then the injury happened. He was completely out the rotation. I thought Zeke was going to be a playoff rotation when he was playing. I thought he was going to be one of those players. Because to be honest with you, I was scared of Jeff Green being a playoff rotation. But Uncle Jeff proved me wrong. He played his tail off in the playoffs. He was amazing for us. For his age, he was incredible. But I think Zeke can be a playoff rotation for us. But more so than Peyton Watson. I love the upside for Peyton Watson, but I just don't think he's ready yet. Unless he proves me wrong this season. I hope he proves me wrong. But I think Zeke will be more ready for playoff rotation than Peyton Watson, for example.
I feel like I'm just watching like the last few preseason games. I feel like the team also doesn't always know talking about Peyton Watson now. The team doesn't always know what he's going to do with the ball. Sometimes, if I don't know if you guys experience this, where I feel like he explodes by his guy, gets into the paint, gets to that 8-foot spot, which I love. I love that he can do that. It's great. I think it's really valuable. And I can understand why he wants to in a context where he's playing with like Justin Holiday and Reggie Jackson. There's a lot of like who is the best option for doing this thing. But at the same time, in the same way that I think it takes a lot of time for players to learn how to play with Jokic, I think it would take some more clarity to figure out how the team should function if Peyton Watson is doing those things. Because he's kind of like, he's looking for passing options. He's thinking, should I shoot? Should I not? And usually the other four guys are just like, what are you doing? Should I be cutting? Should I be staying here? I don't know. So I do think Zeke has like a level of clarity. It looks like, especially that they specifically are coaching him into. I called for like earlier. If they were to make a trade in the season, I would love to go get Kelly Olynyk. But I think they're working towards emulating a lot of that play style with Zeke, where we're specifically having him. Okay, you're going to work triple handoffs, and we're not going to throw you the ball in the post too much, but we want you to do these specific things. And I think that, to your point, is going to make it a lot more possible for him to be a playoff contributor at that point. That could always change, but I see that change in Zeke this year.
Yeah, I think with Peyton, it's interesting how you mentioned like not everybody always knows what he's about to do, because I think that one disadvantage that the Nuggets bench has is like the starters are so good and so like on the same page that when we watch the bench not know what they're doing, it's like even more glaring, right? When the truth is, if you were to like go watch every team around the league, they have a lot of benches that are like trying to figure it out. They don't really know like what their identity is. So I think that's kind of the challenge the first 20 25 games. And even Moach said as much, like the bench rotation's not set. We don't know yet, but he did say he wants Jamal to stagger with that unit and basically have either one of Jokic or Jamal on the floor at all times. So I'm really hoping that him being healthier and like having more confidence in his own game is really going to help his like impact on the chemistry, right? Because it's like he knows he can get a shot whenever he wants, but like Dow mentioned earlier in the show, he thinks he's going to have a career high in assists this year. I'm really hoping that this is like where the true point guard comes out and he's like directing traffic and at least doing good stuff for the bench so they can start to build an identity. Because like you mentioned, Ray, I think Zeke Nagy is a perfectly fine player as long as he is, sticking to his role and not trying to do too much. And for the most part, he's done that. I think this is going to sound pretty negative, but like, I'm at the point where like him not being able to catch the ball is not on him anymore. Like if he's in traffic, don't throw him the basketball. If he's wide open, you can throw him the basketball, but he just needs to set screens, keep the ball moving, dive hard. When you set a screen and dive hard, it forces a guy to recover, right? And a lot of times that leaves open another swing for a shooter like Julian Strother or something. So I think it's important to remember that like we can't measure Zeke's impact by his raw production of points. And also, somebody pointed this out to me the other day. He's not a great rebounder, but the Nuggets have generally rebounded pretty well when he's on the floor. So I do think that it's not as black and white as saying a guy is a good IQ player or a bad IQ player. He's not the smartest guy on the team, but I do think he tries to play winning basketball.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Dow, how have you generally felt? I guess we're kind of transitioning into we know the starters are going to be excellent. We know they're going to be one of, if not the best 5-man units in the league. What is your sense of things with the Denver's? It's hard to say with Denver's bench because like who is a part of that bench? It's still up for debate. But of all the players who are either not starters or how those players interact with guys like Jamal who are going to play with the bench a lot, where are you on who is the most, I don't even know how to put it. How is it going in your mind, and who do you think is looking like the best options for that unit?
Yeah, no, for me, for the bench, I'm more optimistic than last season. Going to last season, I think it'll be way better than last year's bench. The reason I say that, Maul is more healthier, and so if he's going to stagger with the bench, he's going to make a huge difference. The spacing is way better. I mean, look at Julian. Julian just being on the court with that space and that range is going to be amazing. CB rim pressure, with his rim pressure and cuts, he's going to be more comfortable under his skin than last year. I'm expecting a big year from Christian Braun. I think he's going to be better. Christian Braun is going to be way better than last year. Zeke just needs to stay within just with what he's comfortable with. Just stay within his lane. And if he does that, his 3-point comes back. If his 3 points come back, the bench is going to be way better than expected. And the rookies, I think you just need to play the rookies. You just have to play them. Live with the mistakes. You play them. Just give them game experience. Same with Payne Watson. That's the only way he's going to learn. It's just you have to play him. You can coach somebody hard, but if they don't play, you don't have real life experience to go. So you have to play them. But I think the bench is going to be way better than last year. I'm really excited for Reggie. I think Reggie is going to have a better year than last year. Just the way he came in at the trade deadline. He didn't have the training camp that they just had. He had the whole summer working with the rookies and just being that veteran voice all summer long. I think Reggie's going to have a great chemistry with the bench just because he's been spending time with them the whole offseason. He's been spending time with Christian Braun and Payne Watson all offseason, just working with those guys and the rookies. And so, the reason the Nuggets are so good is because they just have a cohesive understanding of each other on and off the court that everybody on the around the league don't have. Nobody has just the locker room that Denver has around the league. Like nothing gets
Vibes are strong for
yeah.
sure.
So that in itself shows up on the floor. So I'm excited for the bench. Uh, the first 20 games, like you guys said, is gonna say a lot about the bench and where they are. If the bench comes out guns blazing and they're amazing, I'm with you, Ray. I'm saying put down
70 games, let's go.
But if they're a work in the progress, I think they will figure it out by December, January. If we have a good bench, I think that will figure itself out, and we'll know then. Like, yeah, this is a good bench, or no, this is not a good bench. We will know by December, January whether we have a good bench or not. Just like last season, we knew by December. Once December turned and we just start winning those games, yeah, we were like, yeah, well, we're a contender. We're going to be in the mix for a championship. That's when I knew for me. I was like, yep, yeah, this team is for real.
Peter, I mean, I have some thoughts, but how are you feeling about the Nuggets bench options so far? And if you have the sense of this yet, do you have a configuration in your mind for what the Nuggets are going to move ahead with going forward?
Well, it seems to me like if we assume Jamal staggers and he's your one, right? Christian Brown's the first he's like the sixth man, so he'll be the 2 or the 3. You play him with Strother, who has looked great in preseason. I feel like he should play Zeke at the 5, and that kind of leaves one spot open. And it's like Peyton hasn't really shown enough to lock anything down yet. A lot of people think that that's just going to get be Justin Holiday minutes right away, which I mean, they can survive that. I just be bummed out because to me that's like counterproductive. You know, Justin Holiday's in his mid-30s. He's not going to get any better. So I'd rather have Peyton get those minutes so he could play through it, and like get better. And if it's not either one of those guys, then they'll probably go small and either play like, KCP and just stick with a 9-man rotation, or maybe play Hunter Tyson. But he just didn't look ready to me. So I don't know what other options there are.
I'm still, for me, I like Hunter. Even though he didn't have a great preseason, he kind of lost confidence in his shot there, but it started to come back those last 2 games. You saw him gain confidence and knock down those 3-pointers. And so the thing about Hunter, I think is just everything's a little fast for him right now. Once he's settled in, I think he's going to be good. It's just the way he processed the game. You can tell he thinks about the game at a high level. Like that's just me, my own, just watching him play. I think he's going to be fine. He just lost confidence in his shot, but it started to come back those last 2 preseason games where he shot it good. It wasn't bad.
The thing I like about his game is he dribbles with a purpose, right? He catches the ball and he shoots, or if he's not open, it's pump and drive. He doesn't like just dribble around and like do nothing. He's like a very, like keeps the ball moving player.
Yeah.
Can I highlight a specific possession I was watching from the second Clippers game? It was so basically it's like Jamal and Reggie, right? And the running point. Basically, Jamal pulls it up, kind of probes his man defensively for a few dribbles, kicks it to Reggie. Reggie probes his man defensively for a few dribbles, kicks it back to Jamal. He probes his man defensively for a dribble. They did that for about 17, 18 seconds. And then Reggie ends up with the ball and he takes a pull-up 3, which...
not great.
So it's not great. It was a little infuriating. And so it kind of brought me to like this point. I think the best role I think this is both true for Reggie and for Justin Holiday, is almost as like a starter fill-in more than as like a bench guy. Like if Jamal is out, I would rather play Reggie than Jalen Pickett. Like I think that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of just like you need someone to do a particular job and fill a particular role. in a similar way, I think Justin Holiday, very low mistake player. He seems very comfortable, very competent, and at the same time, I sometimes wonder with him like what his actual strengths are in a way that shows
He's
up
a wing.
more with the bench than when he's with the starters, where he can just kind of fit in and just needs to be solid and not mess up what the other guys in the court have going on. Um, I like Zeke at this point more than DeAndre Jordan, at least. I mean, I know Malone won't hesitate to swap them out as needed, but I think we love DeAndre Jordan until he has to play for like 30 minutes in a night or for multiple nights consecutively. And then we're reminded of the reasons why that DeAndre is a third center, not a backup center.
Mhm.
I feel like Hunter, especially, is a guy who I think he's going to like live and die by who he's playing with. Because, like to Dow, I think I agree with your point. I think he thinks the game at a high level, and he's trying to play the right way in a lot of ways. But at the same time, if it's a lineup where it's just one of Jamal or Peyton or Reggie attacking the lane, panicking, and doing something with the ball kind of random, it's hard for him to fit in to that.
Mhm.
That he's almost a piece that's best used if they're trying to figure out a sort of let's continue to play like this sort of like more team oriented style. So with Hayden, I'm kind of with you. I think he just needs to play. But I think he would also benefit, like we said earlier, just role clarity. You know, if we have a main ball handler and you don't have to do any of that, I think that's better for Peyton. If you have he knows he needs to be the primary defender and more of a hustle guy, I think that's better for Peyton. I think it's the ambiguity that harms him the most, and he just has to work through getting comfortable with like the basics, honestly. Can you be a good defender? Can you hustle? Can you, get some of those putback dunks? We love to see it. Run the floor. I think he'll look really good. I just hope that. So I'm a little lower on Reggie as like a backup point guard option, only because I think with those two guys in particular, and maybe a little bit with Julian Strother, they're almost dependent on whoever the point guard is to be that responsible game manager. I think he'll be better. So that I don't know to what extent like that's like a low bar, but yeah, I think I'm I'm kind of my fingers are kind of crossed that Jalen Pickett does win the job. And I guess my vision for like 70 wins is one where it's like Pickett, Brown, Strother, one of Watson or Hunter Tyson and Zeke with an actual bench unit for the most part, and that Reggie and Justin are like super subs for the starters. And maybe there's a little crossover there. Sometimes Mike plays with the bench, sometimes Jamal plays with the bench, but that's my like 70 win vision looks like that. Anyway,
Ray, I have to put you on the spot here. I have to ask you, what
go
do you
ahead,
like so much
cook
about
me.
Jalen Pickett? What does he do well? Like I think the main thing he does to
Hmm.
me differently than Reggie Jackson is that he shoots less. So other than that, like not being a chucker, what do you actually like about his game?
It is mainly that.
Okay. Well, I just wanted you to be honest because like
I
I
think
just
that's
haven't
like the
seen
most
like I haven't
important
seen
thing.
highs with him. I haven't seen like why he should be playing in NBA games.
I agree. Like I think he has some limitations that remind me a lot of Monte Morris in a way where he's not an elite athlete and he doesn't have elite size. So
Right.
what he is going to, talking about chemistry things, he would be benefited the most from a really good pick and roll option. Not to say that Zeke isn't that, but
He's not.
even though he's doing better,
Yeah.
he's not having the physical like a Steven Adams. He needs a guy who's gonna like be a brick wall for him to create that space and let him get into the lane and be able to make those good decisions for him
Hmm.
to be like a good NBA player. I don't know if Zeke is that guy.
Sure.
Maybe P Watt could be that guy. Hey, if you're just looking for something to do, um, they could find other options. But or even Michael Porter, I think could be effective because maybe he's not the most physical, but because he's such a threat to shoot and score. But I think, yeah, when I'm saying like I would like Jalen Pickett to play more, even Colin Gillespie, I think this is also kind of true. Just somebody who isn't going to dominate the time of possession in a way that is going to. I think that's going to be good for the other guys in the unit as a whole if they're playing together.
Yeah. No, for me, I think I like Pickett, but go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get why people don't like Reggie Jackson, but from the little I've seen in the preseason, I do feel like he's made more of a concerted effort to play Nuggets basketball. Like he still is who he is. Last year
He's
was
trying.
complete, like he's trying, but last year was a complete just like I'm gonna go in and be Reggie Jackson. That's why he couldn't play. I think there's like a balance. Like he's moved a level closer to fitting in, but at the same time, guys, let's be honest. There was a lot of times last year where the bench flat out struggled to score. If Reggie Jackson's going to come in and be confident enough to take shots, I'm okay with that because some days it's going to pay off. He'll have some rough nights, like everybody does. Like that, you're on the bench for a reason because you're not a consistent player. But I'm not that worried about it, guys. Like I feel like the starters are good enough to where if Reggie comes in and plays good half the time, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's why I'm so high on Reggie. I think he's just the Nuggets already they made that investment. So you can't. I just don't think they're going to sit him on the bench. I don't think Malone is going to do that. That's the problem that I have. It's just like I hope even if he's bad, Malone is going to try to play him through it because Malone is still a guy who believes in, you got to earn it type of guy. He always plays vet over, rookies, or young players. That's just his. It worked, so I can't question it anymore. I can't question Malone. Remember last year when we were talking, we were going to question Malone if they didn't make it in this past postseason. It was on him. Well, he delivered, so I can't question his philosophy anymore because his philosophy obviously worked. So there's something to that. Guys working and earning minutes and knowing that it's not given pays off in the long run. Look at Michael Porter. If Michael Porter would have went on another team beside the Nuggets, Michael Porter was a deer in the headlight in the bubble. That would be Michael Porter today. That would be his game. Elite scorer, but doesn't play defense. That just would have been Michael Porter's game. But now Michael Porter defends, he rebounds, and he's still an elite scorer. So I trust the process. I'm with Peter. I think Reggie's going to be way better, just by the fact that he's trying to play Nuggets basketball, and we do need a scorer on the bench. And him and Julian are the best scorers on that bench, and Christian Brown. Those are the best scorers on the bench. And so it's especially with Reggie spacing with Julian, it's going to be way better than last season. Julian is a better shooter than Bruce. Bruce Brown was a great shooter. He had it. His numbers in Denver just, I don't know if it was something in the air in Denver, but he had a career year in Denver. So I hope it's the same thing for Julian. Julian is just a natural shooter. For me, Julian reminds me of Klay Thompson. Just he's a sniper. His release is so quick. It's so smooth. It's textbook, just like Michael Porter and Klay Thompson. So I think the bench is going to be better, and I think Reggie's going to be a big part of it. So I think Pickett is going to play, but he's not going to play over Reggie. I just don't think that yet. If he
Definitely
does,
not at first.
If he takes the job over Reggie, I would be surprised. I'd be really surprised if that happened.
I think he won't have as good like counting stats, but I would. It depends. Like there's gonna be a lot of discussion, but I think he'll have a better like plus minus things like that.
Yeah,
but
see, Pickett reminds me of young Jokic. He plays within himself. He doesn't want to make mistakes. I like that for a young player that's coming into the league. He plays within himself, and so that's actually good. But that's why he doesn't have a high ceiling, right? It's just we know what he is, we know what he brings to the table, and that's one of the reasons why they drafted him. They're not going for these, they're not going for Payne Watsons anymore because it's going to take more than one season to develop those players. That's not what they're
Right.
looking for.
I don't know if I understand why they, looking at them as they are, like the appeal of Reggie Jackson is definitely there. That they need somebody who can create for themselves in short order. I don't know if it'll be as efficient as we want it to be for a guy
Of
doing
course
that.
not.
No.
So but at the same time, the bar is so low that it's I don't want to say it's impossible for them to not be better, but he could even be. He could just do what he did last year, but slightly better, and that would go a long way for sure. Like they could be a -5 on a regular basis, and that's still fine.
Yeah. See, the starters just need the bench not to be a -20 when they come back in. That's what
Yeah.
what our starters need. If the bench is just a -5 or 0, that's better because when the starters come back in, they're just going to come back to doing their thing. And now if the bench is a plus, oh, I'm with you. The Nuggets are winning 60 plus, easily 60 plus game. If
So
the
that's
bench
my
is
thing. I don't think they can be a plus with Reggie Jackson.
but I
Well,
think
but
I
Ray,
don't
ahead.
think
that's
it's
the thing is
possible.
like, well, we have to remember if Jamal is going to stagger, that means Reggie is going to get significantly more minutes playing with Jokic. So I know he's still a shoot first player, but I still have confidence in Reggie to run a functional pick and roll. And if your outlet guy is Jokic, guess what? That's fine. That means he's passing to one of the best shooters and passers in the league who's going to make good decisions with the basketball. So I feel like when Jamal goes to the bench early and Reggie comes in, the offense won't miss too much of a beat. Reggie's not going to come in and like muck everything up. It'll be when Jokic goes to the bench and Jamal comes back in. If those two are playing together, they're going to have to work on that.
I mean, that is going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of Reggie Jackson and Jamal minutes just based on both some of the preseason games that I've watched and Malone's tendencies is that he likes, especially in bench units, he likes multi-guard units for reasons I can't explain, but I think we're going to see a lot of Jamal and Reggie together. And I don't know. I think they can all work these are all like issues that they can work out.
See,
Is why I'm optimistic, and I think they can find the right conclusions. I just don't know if the like conventional answers are going to be the best ones, but we'll see.
yeah, no, Ray. That's the
Um,
thing I'm hoping we don't see is the Jamal and Reggie backcourt. I rather see Jamal Julian, or Reggie Julian, and then Christian Brown, and then Hunter Tyson or Payne Watson and Z. That's what I would rather see. Just you, I think Malone knows now that size is the name of the game in the NBA. If you have size on the floor that can shoot and stretch the floor, that's how you win. And so it's just I don't want to see the backcourt of Jamal and Reggie because it's too small. It's too small.
it's redundant.
Yeah,
Like you don't need two guys to do that, and yeah, they're not very. Jamal's a big guy
yeah,
for a point guard. Reggie's not tiny, but as a 1-2 combo, that's not very
Right.
big at all.
No.
I feel like if you play two guard in the NBA, you should be taller than me.
yeah.
Just my opinion. So yeah, I'm optimistic that they have so many options. Like I think this year compared to last year, Malone has as a cook in a kitchen, he just has a lot more spices and different seasonings that he can throw into the mix than he ever has. So the fact that he has Julian Strother and surprise, surprise, he's an actual NBA player. That Hunter Tyson is a guy who can play the right way and shoots the ball well and moves well. And Peyton Watson is this super athlete, defender, long boy type of guy. That Zeke can be a small ball guy. That DJ can be a big ball guy. You got so many different configurations that they can really go with. I mean, I don't, even if I don't like certain configurations, I think there are ones that are going to work. So we'll see. I'll have a good sense of how I feel about 70 wins versus 55 or 60. Probably like you guys said, like by the first couple of weeks, maybe the first month, like how it's going. But yeah, I am really optimistic. Um, let's see. Tuesday is a season opener. That's crazy. Like we made it. It's
We almost
it's it's
there.
been a long road coming. The Denver Nuggets are taking on, if I'm not mistaken, just to confirm, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Dal, I'll start with you. How excited are you for that matchup specifically? And how much do you think it means that, for a season opener at home, horror ring night, to have that matchup be against one of the long-standing sort of juggernauts in the West to be?
Yeah. No, for me, uh, it's the icing, on top of the cake, because beating them in the Western Conference was just getting the monkey off our back. The Lakers have been, for the longest time since I became a Nuggets fan, just have been a thorn, just on our way forever. I thought those Melo, Iverson teams were so good, but we couldn't get past the Lakers. For some reason, we just kept losing to the Lakers, no matter how good we were. So beat them in the way we beat them, and now we get to get the ring ceremony in front of them, raise that banner in front of them. Oh, it's poetic. I wouldn't want it any other way. So I'm super excited. Uh, I know the Lakers are going to come in with the mentality that they want to ruin ring night. If our starters just give, let's say 50% of care, we'll win the game. I'm not worried about it. What I want the starters to do is to get their ring and put an ass whooping on national television. Just that, so that everybody just go, holy crap! Yeah, this
It'd be a statement.
yeah, where everybody just like, yeah, I don't think there's beating anybody beating Denver out there. They're too good.
Peter, how about you? I mean, I know we've been talking about it all summer, the kind of like the relationship between the Lakers and the Nuggets and how that might be a potential rivalry the league really wants to lean into. Um, with that game like literally on the horizon, I mean, how are you feeling about it as a game that the Nuggets need to win, as a game that's going to be, remembered in Nuggets history, so to speak?
No, I just think it's the first game. Like I'm excited for the ring night part more than like. I mean, I'm
That's
excited
the
to watch the
Jokic
game, but
approach.
no, I just it's the Nuggets have been to the mountaintop now. They know what they need to do. I'm sure they do want to play well in front of the home fans, but you know, as we like to do in today's day and age, like whatever happens in that game is going to like shape a narrative like the next day on first take. And it's probably just not going to be true. So, I mean, I want to win, but this is not game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. It's just the first game of the season. There's definitely going to be interesting things, to look for and to see like what happens. I mean, I'm honestly interested to see how many minutes D'Angelo Russell plays, right? Because he's probably going to start, but if he's getting cooked, they probably just ride it out, right? Because I don't think you want to bench him in like the first game of the season to like already take his confidence away. So that's going to be interesting to me.
I have heard that he has been working on his defense.
That's
I'm
the
just
word in the that's the word.
that's the word on the street.
Yep.
I've been working on my dunking too, Ray.
Well, I mean, he has some positive looking clips online, I think he's getting older. I think everybody matures, everybody learns things. They can um realize what is and isn't so important in life. I'm not gonna write it off that he's as bad as he was last year. He might be a
Peter,
little bit better.
Peter, when you get cooked like that, you have no choice but to try to work on it.
It's just funny, like how long has he been in the NBA now, right? It's like it's just funny to me how these guys like they're making plenty of money, they're having successful lives and careers, but then it's like as soon as you play with LeBron James, it's like now stuff gets real. You know, it's like if you don't play well, he'll trade you. So
wouldn't you feel that way though? I would feel that way. Like I need to be
deal.
on every,
you know,
every
he probably
detail
likes living in LA, even if it's like an icy relationship with his teammates or coaches. Like I don't know what the relationship's like, but it's like, man, if he turns on that tape of the Western Conference Finals, he's got to look in the mirror and be like, damn,
yeah,
I kind of was like the main reason we lost this series.
Yeah. But
and then Malone, what was it after game 2 or game 3? He's like, it's going to be really interesting to see how much he plays going forward. That was like absolute like subliminal fuck you, like I've never seen from a head coach to an opposing player. That was incredible.
You heard what he said after the first game too. Is that if Malone? He said we just kept attacking the mismatches. You know, and
didn't Bruce Brown say something to him too? Like
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If Bruce Brown is taking you off the dribble on a mismatch, like you have a problem,
bro. Bruce still on the team just because the drama and the added, fire. it would be incredible. I think just because Bruce Brown is a trash talker, he's the ultimate trash talker on the team last year.
Speaking of trash talkers, I actually I wanted to talk a little bit about like the personalities that we're realizing are coming together on this team. We're gonna start on one end of the spectrum and then move to the other end. I have an answer for this, but Peter, I'll ask you this. Who do you feel like is the most chill person on the Nuggets?
The most chill person. I think it's Zeke. He doesn't seem to like change his expression very much, whether he's playing well or not playing well. And I think oftentimes as fans, we misconstrue that for like a guy doesn't care if he just like blew a bunny. But honestly, as like somebody who played basketball, obviously not a very high level, one thing I was always like pride myself on was like forgetting about it and moving on to the next play. And I think Zeke does that really well. So whether he's playing well or not, Zeke is just incredibly mature enough to stay in the moment. Another guy who also honestly cares and very similar is Michael Porter. Like you don't see Porter doing a ton of like celebrating and talking, but obviously we've heard plenty of MPJ like on podcasts and interviews. Like he definitely is not the most chill guy. He's kind of out there.
Yeah, he is.
Well,
yeah.
I asked because like and Dow, I'm kind of curious what you think of this. When I was watching the preseason before Zeke got the new contract, if I'm being honest, I thought I thought there was some kind of problem.
Oh,
if I was like checked out. A little bit, like he just didn't look super. Not that he wasn't trying; he was definitely trying. But thinking about like how engaged he looked, like emotionally in the game and with his teammates and stuff like that, I was like,
Well, maybe he was nervous. I don't know, but maybe he was honestly like not sure if he was going to get a contract because the Nuggets could have said, "Sorry, we're not going to give you a contract."
That's how it felt.
Play it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I don't know how you feel this, but it felt like to me he had like I might get traded next week energy.
Definitely, I think he was nervous because I think he kind of realized like this is make it or break it year for this person for his career too, and where he wants to be. He definitely loves Denver. He loves this team. He wants to contribute, just like playing basketball. Who doesn't want to contribite, right? Nobody wants to sit on the bench. I can be the best teammate on the planet. I still want to play. You know what I'm saying? And so because it makes you feel more being part of it than just sitting on the bench because you help contribute to winning.
I'm sure he wants a second ring where he's like, I really earned that one,
Yeah.
Not to say that he didn't, but
that's the thing. It's like, being a member of us being in, group projects and, that one person that, is chill and just barely does enough, but you're doing all the work. So it's just like that. I think he was nervous. I think he was nervous. And the thing is, we have this misconception with Zeke that he's where he's nonchalant and doesn't care, which is opposite from the truth. He does care. He just doesn't have. He doesn't play with anger like Jamal. Jamal needs something. He needs to make up something in his mind. He's a psychopath in that way. Zeke is not.
Right. No.
Yeah. Zeke uses the light side of the force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. Another guy I actually wanted to touch on. Part of it is kind of why I want to see more of him playing. I love Hunter Tyson's energy.
Yeah.
Like from
he mixes it up a
personality. Yeah, like we don't live in an era where in the NBA you can really have quote unquote goons anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, guys you pay just to like, hey, go foul that guy 5 times. But I love having a guy, especially who maybe he isn't like a core player. You know, he can come off the bench or he can contribute in certain context. He's a real basketball player, make no mistake. But I love his fuck you energy. Like that there is something about that like brings joy to my heart to know that like he's going to contribute in that way. And I think it's bigger than I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it's bigger than just like however many points he scores. As long as he's playing, as long as he's actually
not afraid. That's what I love about it. He has no fear. So he's and you saw when he got into it with Torrey Craig. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I love that. Because I think Torrey was like, who is this? Who's this? Look at your hairline, et cetera, et cetera. Like, but the fact that Hunter doesn't back down from any of those things, that it's just nice to see. I think that's I don't want to preemptively label him a foxhole guy, but I think that's what you want in your teammates, and I think it's going to endear him to a lot of the community, both in the organization and outside of it.
He played way better too after that incident. Did you see how he played before that and then after that? Oh, it was two different.
Fire under him.
I was like, we were pissed off often because he was rebounding, he was passing, and he was making the threes. And so it's like that's what you want. And so sometimes you need whatever you need to, you know, to get you fired up. Hey, it works. Keep doing it.
I kind of wish Peyton Watson had a little bit more of that. Not that he's not mopey at all, but I just wish, I don't know, he was a little bit more emphatic about how he went through things.
He's still trying to find his
guess that. Yeah, I think he just feels a little bit more uncertain about things. Like we talked about on the court stuff, but I also feel like what his NBA personality is going to be. You know, I think he talks to a lot of like other star players even that are in his circles and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of curious, is he going to be more of that like laid back type of guy? Or once he starts to find some success, will he be a guy who's a little bit more like, I just, you know, glassed your shot and I'm going to talk to you about it? That's another thing I'm kind of curious about. Can I also say before, I know I think we're kind of wrapping up. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts you wanted to discuss before we go, but I'm still enjoying DeAndre Jordan's vibes. You know, I feel like he's a good guy. Not just off the court, but I also feel like he does his best to stay as ready as he can be. And I think that carries like all of this is to come with like a certain establishment of like what is Nuggets culture. You know, it's easy to look at the star players and like Jokic and Michael Porter and Jamal and see those things, but to see it in a guy who like isn't even playing, he's always the first to like be first off the bench and pat KCP on the back after he hits a big three, or you know whatever it might be. He's working in the gym just as hard as anybody else. From all reports, I'm not in the gym with them, but yeah. So I'm just like really happy, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm glad DJ is here. And just to kind of go back on Peyton Watson, I don't think he's sure of himself as a man yet. He's young. He's what? He's 20. So I think
he's 21. I think, yeah. So you're
I
not
think
wrong with that.
he's trying to find is just trying to find himself as a basketball player, but also as a young man. So that's why him being in this system, I think it's going to do so well for him going forward. It's just I kind of see Peyton Watson as just this talented, unpolished, player like Michael Porter when he came in. If that's the trajectory for Peyton Watson, then he's going to be a fine player going forward. And so I'm not. He's not a trash talker like Christian Brown, but you don't need to be a trash talker. You can be a silent assassin also, and it just does the job just as effective. So I love the passion. Every time he blocks a shot or that putback dunks. So you see that passion. He has the passion, but he's not a trash talker like Christian Brown. Christian Brown is the trash talker, and I want him to embrace that because
This season,
that's when he plays. When he trash talk, he plays amazing. It just something goes off on his head. It's just like he's just like the fuck you thing with Christian Brown when he trash talk people.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
Ray,
really feels like Denver is trying to blend like the grit and the talent, the smoothness, the Spursianness of quality basketball. But Peter, how about you? How do you feel about personality wise? Like, what are some of your thoughts about the team so far?
well, it's interesting you bring up DJ because I was just thinking back to how it was him, Jeff, and Ish is kind of like the old vets on the team last year. Ish didn't play much, obviously, but all three of them were really big in terms of like leadership and, teaching the young guys, different stuff. Especially Jeff. I saw a lot of clips of him like coaching guys coming off the floor and stuff. So I'm a little bit worried on if DJ is going to be able to do enough of that by himself or who else can kind of step up to help because he can help guys like Zeke Naji and maybe Hunter Tyson, but is he going to really be able to help like Julian Strother or Jalen Pickett that much with on basketball stuff? Hopefully Jamal and maybe guys like KCP and Justin Holiday can help with that a little more. So that's going to be interesting. They don't have as many vets as they did last season, personality wise. And then, the last thing I just had to get in there real quick before we go is, it's obviously like, it's always interesting to talk on pods about like uncertain stuff. Two guys we talked about almost not at all today was KCP and Aaron Gordon, because they're just pillars of consistency, man. Like,
yeah,
Aaron Gordon looks like he hasn't missed a beat. He's so great, chemistry with Jokic. He does exactly what this team needs. He's a core player, and KCP too. Like, he was so good in that playoff run last year. Like, I don't think it can go unnoticed how that just because you're a role player, you can still be extremely crucial to winning. And I consider him a playoff riser. The way we all called Jamal a playoff riser. Look at what KCP did in that Suns series. I mean, he hit the massive three in either game 1 or game 2, and they had that like 18-point first quarter in game 6. Like, this guy is a dog, and he's not going to put up spectacular numbers this year, but I would be okay with him shooting a little more, just because they always kind of said they're going to collectively have to chip in for Bruce Brown being gone. So I think KCP is going to have some big games this year.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't even talk about KCP or Aaron Gordon. And Ray, I think Aaron Gordon is a type. He loves Jokic and he loves Denver so much. I think Aaron Gordon, it's not a hot take. I think the dude probably just wants to retire in Denver, man. He's going to take a pay cut for his next contract.
Interesting.
I'm telling you, Aaron Gordon is not going anywhere. He
I think that's
loves
what it would take.
This team. Aaron Gordon is going to. If you expect for the Nuggets core the first to leave for me, and I love him, it would be Michael Porter. He would, if he wants a bigger role, or if we can't afford him anymore, it would be Michael Porter. Just if we can't afford to pay him anymore, just because of the rules now with the luxury.
Especially like if Jamal gets the supermax, I think it becomes like
So Michael Porter would be the one, probably like he just wants a bigger role, and we can't afford him. Not that he doesn't want to come back, unless the Kroenke are willing to bite it, and the Nuggets are winning championships after championships. If they're like, forget it,
I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah. but Aaron Gordon is not going anywhere. He's a pillar, man. And I was optimistic when we traded for him, but damn, I didn't think it was going to be this good. I would be
Home
lying.
run. Yeah.
Lying.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a perfect fit. It will be I think that will be an interesting in the Nuggets best team of the 2020s documentary. It'll be an interesting point of contention, like how Michael Porter's career goes going into his next contract.
Yeah.
Especially considering some of the implications of Jamal's next contract. So
yeah.
We shall see.
Especially
we might have to have another talk about like him like what it takes to be all NBA on Jamal's part, maybe, and how because I think it's more than just being an all-star. But we'll see about that. Yeah, so Dow, I'll throw it to you if you have any parting shots before we close out. Floor is yours. Any takes you've been wanting to get off?
Yeah, I think I it's not a hot take. I think Jamal is going to be all NBA. I think he's going to be first, or he's going to be second or third. If he's first all NBA, then the Nuggets have won 70 games. If that's the case,
I'm hoping.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think Jamal is going to get the Supermax. He's betting on himself, and so he's going to get the Supermax. He is. So I'm not worried about that. But
Peter, how about you?
It's going to make things so much difficult for the Nuggets as a whole, though. Unfortunately, in terms of their books and the leagues and the rules now.
Yeah, it'll be tough. But Peter, before we close out, obviously you know where to find all of us on Twitter at Raven Hackshaw, at BucketSense88, at Nolotich Fowler. But Peter, any final thoughts before we close out?
You know, I've done kind of a 180 on Julian Strother. Like, I like the draft pick. I was disappointed in his summer league performance, but he was so good in the preseason. If he gets minutes, my hot take is I think he's going to play well enough that he's going to get himself an invite to the rookie sophomore game this year. You know, it's a pretty big rookie class, but you pretty much need to be like one of the best 12 players in the class to make that game. So if he's playing at a high level for the first half of the year, you know, the Nuggets, as we know, drafted college ready guys. So maybe he won't get off to as bumpy of a start as like maybe some other rookies. So if he's playing well, I could see him getting selected for that game.
Yeah, my main like concern with him, and we'll have to have CTO on for his victory lap shortly, but my main concern for him was mainly like his foot speed as a two guard in the NBA, especially as he like develops into his body, you know, that can improve. But so far, I mean, he's been of a level that I think is like adequate for at least defensive purposes in the preseason and defensive purposes in summer league. So I think that's what will like determine does Michael Malone trust him or not. But we'll see. I mean, I thought that would like kind of crush him, but so far he's killing it so hard. I mean, we're talking about does the bench need like a leading scoring option? I mean, of all of them so far that isn't a starter, he's probably been my favorite. So
I think
that's a great point. I mean, it's definitely something we'll follow going ahead. If you made it this far, almost 2 hours in, sorry, Jared, but we appreciate you for yeah. Like I said, my club team, we canceled practice, so I should be able to, if not go to the game, go to the bar at the very least. So that should be fun. And yeah, hopefully I'm not too hungover on Wednesday. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.
Yeah, thanks to everybody listening, and here's to 100 more.
Yeah,
hey, congrats, guys, and it's going to be plenty more. We're in the golden era, so
that's right. No better time to be a Nuggets fan.
It's nice to be the best.
Yeah.
Okay, catch you later.